These are in for genotyping. So we'll get them tagged, the genotype tags, and we'll send them away to the lab and see what the results are. Genotyping itself is pretty simple, just an additional tag that captures a little notch out of their ear, and then you end up with a small vial here with a sample, and that gets posted off. Alright, 76 samples to go to the lab. Parentage results. So as you can see here, 91% of the animals in the flock are sire verified, so there's a genomic verification that the sire is the sire that was recorded, and 28% of the animals are dam verified. The reason for that is typically ewes are not genotyped, so there's very little data on the ewes, so only the ewes that were in the flock that had lambs that were around when the genotyping happened would have got the verification. So you can see here it's going quite well. There's some purchase animals. I purchased a few different rams this year along with ewe lambs to make up different breeding families. As you can see here, there was no sire recorded for this particular ewe that I bought in, and it has a signed one, which is great. So you get to flesh out the ancestry and get a better idea of which families are involved, and that in turn allows you to avoid inbreeding. So that is quite useful. As you can see there, I think there were two of the older ewes that I'd bought that got assigned sires based off the genotype result. Okay, so onto the Scrapy results. There are various types of Scrapy resistance, type 1 being the most resistant to the Scrapy disease, type 2, type 3, type 4 and type 5, there may be more. 91% of the flock is type 1, as you can be seen here. 7% is type 2, and there's 1% is type 3. So that's very good news to see. See, there's the type 1. Actually, this ewe is a particularly good milker, and her progeny, I believe this is one of her progeny, is a type 2 now, as I'm typically using type 1 rams as a matter of course. So I think I will keep her and try and get some more progeny out of her, as she has very good milk, and hopefully that will transfer into the progeny of that to you. So most of them are type 1, which is great. So I'm working towards getting all type 1, pretty close, and it will take a little bit of time. That's okay. Taking a look at inbreeding coefficient results, we see the following here. You can see it's graphed out. So we're averaging around 7% inbreeding coefficient, and we can see here there are some that are very high, and I'm sharing this in the spirit of transparency. The animals that are high are ones that have been bought in. You know, there's very little ewes, very few ewes that are genotyped to get this data. So sometimes you buy in animals that have a little bit of inbreeding there. So this the animals that I can see are they're okay, and I will try and breed them. But obviously I don't want to. I want to get away from that level of inbreeding. That's very high. Generally speaking, the level is, reasonably low. Like, I think the recommended level is around 5%. So most of the animals are much lower than that, which is good. But it does go to show you that it's very difficult to keep track of parentage. So either genotype or you have a flock book type setup. Probably genotyping is the really only way to know that they're not inbred. So certainly very interesting data to have a look at. So as part of the genotyping process, I've asked Sheep Ireland to run breed predictions against the flock. Breed predictions they basically try and predict the amount of breed of different breeds within an animal. So in the pedigree section, that means that the animals here are 100% EasyCare. Sheep Ireland are still in the process of updating the animals in the system, so there will be more there. I think there's roughly 20 that are not 100% EasyCare now, and they will remain in the commercial area, commercial tab, and as such, I think most of the flock will be 100% EasyCare once the breed prediction work is done. But that's quite useful in terms of going forward. We know what we have, and we can work towards. I'll work towards breeding the whole flock pure, but keeping, bringing in animals as needed that are unrelated, rams, so to keep the inbreeding down, because I don't want to, at this point in time, I don't want to be doing line breeding or inbreeding, and we will see how we go with it. Okay, so one area I'd like to look at before we wrap the video up today is the Data Quality Index, or DQI for short. This is a measure of the quality of data going into Sheep Ireland, which is used then to generate the genomic evaluations for each animal. So there's 3 elements to DQI: completeness, so all of the information they require is that has that been inputted; timeliness, is it recorded and put into the system in a timely manner; and quality, so how accurate is the data. So there are definitely some checks for this. For example, if you put in a weight of a lamb, one day say if it's 20 kilos, for example, and the next day you put in it's 50 kilos, the system will reject that because it's too much of an increase. So there are some measures to kind of safeguard the quality data going in. You can see here there are two DQI scores on the system for me at the moment. There's the Pedigree DQI, so that's the data quality index for the pure EasyCares, and the commercial DQI. So the commercial DQI is for animals that are not 100% of the breed. So most of my animals are coming in at 100% EasyCare. There's a handful that are running about 3/4 EasyCare upwards, so they're accounted for in the commercial side of things. So you can see since I've started, the commercial DQI has gone up quite significantly, so I've tried to capture as much data as possible to give me a very good overview of how the flock is performing and how I can improve it going forward. There was a little dip here where it dipped right down to 0 on the pedigree side, and seemingly they were doing some system update, so that's why that dip is there. But as the breed predictions happen and the animals get moved over to the pedigree side, because I already have data on those animals, the DQI came up as a result. There are some animals that have very little data on them based off of the animals I've bought in. So as we go through the next season, that value should come up as we collect more data on them. And it actually gives you some helpful tips for improving the DQI. So you can see here the really only tip on the commercial side is to have more variety in the lambing difficulty. One of the funny things about this is with the EasyCares, generally they lamb themselves, they look after the young. There's very little. Like I assisted, I think 2 in the previous year, and I don't have enough variety because the breed is pretty good that way, and the data that I'm putting here is exactly what happened. Yeah, I think it's putting incorrect data in. It doesn't help the flock improve because you're relying on false data. So I'm very strict about putting the correct data in. So I think I've lost some points because I didn't have enough variety on the lambing difficulty element, but I just report it exactly as it happens, and if I'm docked a few marks, well, I can't do much about that. On the pedigree side, there's more options for improving the DQI. Muscle and fat scanning, so that's an ultrasound scan of a selection of lambs to help with carcass data and the fat data going into the system. So I think I might do some of that next year. The progeny born from a shared sire, so that comes into the linked ram, so I already have that in place. I have a linked ram from William Hutchinson, who's out working at the moment, so looking forward to seeing how the two flocks compare for his progeny. And back to the same tip for the commercial side, the variety and lambing difficulty recording. So I'll record it as it happens, and that's all we can do there. And it's also asked for the 140-day weights, which will happen next season as we go through this season. So there's a quick overview of the genotype results from the ewes and a bit about the data from the flock. So I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will see what I can do. Thanks for watching.